Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ETHOnline Twitter Spaces. Before we begin, I just wanted to do a quick sound check. If you can hear me, can you please raise your hand or send an emoji? Incredible. Okay, awesome. So we have 1 minute left until the spaces officially begins, but I am very proud to say that this is one of our most on-time Twitter spaces that we've run, and so super, super excited to get started with all of our speakers already ready to go. We have a lot of really incredible speakers joining us today, some of them actually for the first time, so really excited to introduce all of them to our community, and also, of course, talk a little bit more about ETHOnline, which is our next hackathon that is happening this Friday. So, okay, it is 11:30 a.m. EST. So to everybody who is joining us for the first time, or you're a returning Twitter Space listener to ETH Global's Twitter Spaces, welcome back. My name is Maggie. I'm on the partnerships team at ETH Global, and today I will be hosting this Twitter Spaces in collaboration with 3 partner representatives from some of our partner companies. So extremely excited to kick things off. And so before I begin, I first wanted to do a quick overview of what this is for those of you who are just joining us, and what we're talking about today. So, hello everybody. Welcome to our ETHOnline 2024 Twitter Space. Today we are super, super excited to talk about all things ETHOnline, our largest asynchronous hackathon in 2024, starting in 3 days from August 23rd to September 13th, focused on all things Ethereum. So before I introduce our speakers, I do want to remind all listeners that you can still apply to hack for this event, as well as all of our remaining 2024 events. You can see our full calendar at ethglobal.com/events. And we are also taking questions from the audience. Please comment your questions or request to speak at the end, and we will invite you at the end of the space if there is additional time. All right, so what is ETHOnline? It is our 8th virtual hackathon this year already, and it is the 8th month of the year, so you can imagine how many of these we've run. And we have over 1,000 hackers building with us on all things Ethereum over the next 3 weeks. What's even more exciting is that we're actually going to be giving away more than $225,000 in prizes. So I've invited 3 of our partners to join us today, SSV Network, Kinto, and Rootstock Labs, so that we can dive into the different tech stacks that you can put on your radar and how you can maximize your chance at winning the top prizes. So I've talked enough and you've heard me babble, so let's start with some introductions from our speakers. Victor, Olea, and Taylor, could you please briefly introduce yourself, who you're representing, and then popcorn it over to another speaker on the space? I will start with Victor from Kinto.
Hello, hello. My name is Victor Sanchez. I am the CTO and one of the co-founders of Kinto, the Safety First L2. We are, as you can imagine by the name, an L2 that focuses on security, but from a developer's perspective, we are innovating around compliance API, around the ability to do account extraction enforced at the network level. Everything in Kinto works with a smart contract, accounts and wallets that you can directly use through our SDK that we have prepared for the hackathon. Long-time participant in ETH Global, first-time organizer, and I couldn't be more excited to be here.
Thank you, Victor. Now I would love to popcorn it off to Olea.
Thanks, Maggie. This is great. So great to see so many familiar faces in this Twitter space. This is awesome. Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Olea. I lead developer experience at Rootstock. Rootstock is a Bitcoin sidechain. However, it is also fully EVM compatible. So we are bringing together the security of Bitcoin and programmability of Ethereum. So yes, great to hear. Great to be here. Great to see you all. And yeah, excited for this chat.
Thank you, Olea. And last but not least, would love to popcorn it over to Taylor from SSV.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, happy to be here. So yeah, I'm Taylor from SSV. I work in the developer relations at SSV. Essentially, we are a secure and scalable staking infrastructure. So we work on what is called a DVT, which is essentially the next level of staking. Staking itself is obviously it powers the entire Ethereum ecosystem and is very important to it. So what we're building is a much improved version of that, and we have a permissionless network which lets operators, validators, whoever get involved. And yeah, excited to see what people build on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much all for the quick introductions. We will have some more time later to go into the deep ends of what you guys are all working on and why it's so exciting. So before that, I wanted to kind of pop back over to ETHOnline. So obviously the main focus of our Twitter space and also the next couple weeks is ETHOnline. And as in its name, the focus of ETHOnline is obviously Ethereum. So let's make some time to learn about why we host this event and actually what you can expect as both a developer or as an organizer. First off, we have ETHOnline summits, and we are actually running 3 summits starting this Friday, which is the Impact Summit, and then every single Friday after that for 3 weeks, it's going to be a different summit. This week we have Impact Summit, next Friday we have Verifiable Computing, and the third week we have Rollups and Scaling. So make sure you guys all stay up to date on what's happening throughout the event, and also this gives you the opportunity to also learn more about what narratives are at the forefront throughout the ecosystem. The second thing to look out for is our ETHOnline workshops. There are a ton of partner workshops happening throughout the hackathon starting this week, and some topics that I'm personally very excited about are things like building an on-chain AI agent with Galadriel, supercharging attestations with schema hooks, and also building car apps with Demo. The third thing to look out for is ETHOnline project feedback sessions. There's 2 of these, one at the end of each week, so you can actually get help on how to take your project to the next level. I know all of the partner reps that are on this call will definitely try to be there for those, so if you guys are looking to get project feedback, make sure you come to these. And lastly, ETHOnline prizes. This is probably the most exciting part and the part that you guys all want to hear about more. So to learn more about various protocols and ideas, definitely check out our prizes page to learn about different ideas for use cases that you can build for. All right, now I want to pass it back to our 3 speakers to do some more introductions about the different protocols and also developments or announcements that they might have. I want to start with Taylor this time. Why did you choose to get involved for ETHOnline, and can you tell us more about what you're working on and also why you think SSV is so important for the ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. So the last hackathon that SSV actually got involved with was ETH Bogota, which is like 2 years ago. I wasn't with the company at the time, but from what I understand, everything went really well and it was like super valuable for us. And now we've been in mainnet for like around a year now, and everything's going pretty amazing for us, to be honest. So now we kind of we want to open these doors to a wider audience, and we want to see what people can build. We want to get some feedback on our dev tooling because that's very important to us, and hopefully see some really useful projects come out of it, which could potentially apply to our grants program as well. That would be perfect for everyone involved. So SSV itself, so we are heavily involved in the staking ecosystem on Ethereum. More specifically, we're working on a smaller subset of that, which is called DVT, which I'll get to in a minute. So obviously, like, staking is very important for Ethereum as a whole. The network needs it to function, and the entire Ethereum network pretty much relies upon this working correctly. So the traditional flow of staking and validators is, if I'm a solo staker, I got my 32 ETH, I want to run my own node. So essentially, I need to run my own machine. I need to keep my private key online at all times. I need to run my, my execution and my consensus client myself. But because it's this kind of a lot of single points of failure here, this can fail for various reasons. So DVT is kind of an improvement upon this, where it lets us take this validator key, the one, and it lets us split it into multiple key shares, it's called. So as an example here, this could be split into 4, and then 4 separate operators can run as nodes. So they can run in completely different locations, completely different clients, which obviously lets us decentralize the clients for the network, which is great. So essentially, this sort of setup and this infrastructure is just a really big step forward in terms of staking in Ethereum, because it allows for more security for stakers. It decentralizes the network and the clients way further, and it does it all in this fault tolerant and this permissionless manner on SSV network, because it's like super easy to join up. And if you're on the validator side and you got your ETH and you want to stake it, or if you're on the operator side and you want to run some nodes and make some money that way, to be honest, in my opinion, it's just the kind of natural progression of things, staking wise, which is just making everything a lot more better, a lot more secure, a lot more decentralized, which is very Ethereum aligned. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And I think it is really important what you said. And I think one of the key words that you mentioned as a part of that introduction was actually the word security. And I think a lot of people are talking about different ways to enhance security, to make different protocols or different things more secure. And I know, Victor, earlier you also mentioned Kinto being a safety first L2. So I want to also pass it to you now to chat a little bit more about Kinto and what security means for Kinto and why it's so important.
Absolutely. So the birth of Kinto is kind of tied to security. My co-founder and good friend Ramon Recuero, he co-founded Babylon. This was a protocol for asset management that sadly had funds in Rari, and Rari was kind of a famous hack of the previous cycle. And due to the composability of the space that we all love, Babylon got affected and ended up closing to a hack that was not fault of its own. And we decided, trying to save, to build safe cars in an unsafe road is really hard. However, we could build the road ourselves. And that's precisely what the L2 meant for us, right? We could put a number of rules and a number of safeguards in that L2 that do not exist on Ethereum mainnet, that could be the perfect place for veterans and new developers alike to feel safe on that piece. And what are we doing to feel safe? First of all, we KYC and we KYB anyone on the chain. And I know, do not drop from the spaces yet. I know that your allergies right now are arousing. I am a crypto anarchist myself. Don't worry. So what we do, though, is that you can choose out of a plethora of different providers that you have previously trust in your centralized exchange or in your bank account, and no data, no PII will ever leave any of those KYC and KYB. The only thing that is on chain is your Kinto ID. This is your passport to the chain that will allow you to know things like your jurisdiction, if you are sanction safe, if you have passed that KYC, but absolutely nothing else. And only you, by signing transaction, can send that information to final protocols or final institutions that require that for compliant purposes. But your data never leaves your side. The second thing that we have done is we are running fraud detection, AML, and hack detection constantly. Literally every 24 hours, every single Kinto ID on the chain, more than 27,001 of them, they expire and they need to be renewed for safety every single period of those 24 hours. And again, we have all of these different flags that your passport can be stamped with that will kind of eliminate risk for everyone involved inside that space. But I know that's the boring part for a developer. The really exciting part comes now. We have done two things that, yes, they serve security, but also make Kinto one of the most exciting EVMs. And by the way, this is EVM compatible 100% to develop on. Number one is every single account in Kinto is a smart account contract. So basically, we enforce account abstraction at the chain level. Every single user gets a multi-sig by default. So probably your Kinto wallet is going to be the safest wallet you have ever had. And also we are using passkeys. So your face or your fingerprint will be one of those signers in that multi-sig that we are creating by you. So if you want to learn everything that everyone is talking about account abstraction, smart accounts, etc. This is a great place because literally every single transaction is one of them, and our SDKs makes it super easy to send into the chain. And the final thing that is worth mentioning out of the chain itself is that right now we have gone through our kind of launch process. We have just released, especially for ETH Global, our two SDKs, both the smart contract and the wallet SDK, and we are truly excited to see what people build with them.
Wow, thank you so much for the introduction. I think everything that you talked about was really exciting, and I'm personally really excited to see what developers will do with this new SDK that you guys have launched. And I think going back to this whole concept of security again, I know Olia earlier you mentioned Rootstock is basically bringing the security of Bitcoin, but then obviously it's also Ethereum compatible. So can you actually tell us a little bit more about how that works from like a security standpoint, and also why it's so exciting for you guys to be a part of ETHOnline this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Maggie. Oh, Victor, I love those analogies. Very cool. Right, yeah. So as I mentioned before, so what we're working on is to kind of helping bridge that gap between Ethereum and Bitcoin ecosystems, because we do believe that that's sort of crucial for the long-term growth of the blockchain space in general. A little bit about how Rootstock works. So we use something called merge mining. So the Rootstock network is secured by the same miners as the Bitcoin network. So the miners basically include the change of state of the Rootstock networks into the block headers. In the token that's used for gas, the native token on the Rootstock network, it's called RBTC, which stands for Smart BTC, which is basically a version of Bitcoin. So that is the connection to Bitcoin itself. Whereas when it comes to Ethereum, as I mentioned, Rootstock is fully EVM compatible. So we can look at it in kind of two different levels. So RVM, which stands for Rootstock Virtual Machine, basically uses the same opcodes to execute the code, the smart code, as EVM, which makes all the contracts written in Solidity compatible with Rootstock. And also the Rootstock node exposes the same JSON RPC interface as the Ethereum node would do. So that makes basically all the wallets and sort of third party applications and dApps compatible with Rootstock, also with a slight change in configuration. So again, to summarize, security of the Bitcoin network, but programmability of the Ethereum network. And we're really excited to be bring this new playground to global, to Ethereum developers, to the event for developers to try and build on Bitcoin using the same tool chain they've been using all along, including the writing smart contracts in Solidity language, and also developer environments, things like Foundry, Hard Hat. It all works on Rootstock same way it would work on any other EVM compatible chain.
Very cool. Thank you so much. So now that we've caught up every single person up to speed and everybody is starting with the same foundation and understanding, I want to get into what I call essentially the alpha of the Twitter Spaces, which is actually talking about, what use cases you guys are most interested in, most excited about, the prizes that you guys will be awarding for this hackathon, any recommendations that for builders who are planning to hack, and also just key things or key criteria that you're looking for in hacker projects. So we'll go through each of those things step by step. Let's start with the first one, which is what are some of the use cases that you are personally most excited about for the products that you're launching or that you're building? What are some of the things that you want developers to experiment during this hackathon, and what would interest you the most? Let's go back to Taylor and start from there.
Okay, so I think from our side, or from my own personal interests at least, I think restaking is super, super interesting to us. I mean, it's still quite new, and we've seen like in the past, since Eigenlayer's release, it's gotten a lot of traffic, just a lot of TVL on it. So setting up a validator which runs in the SSV network and takes part in restaking is actually, it's like a very simple process if you do this manually. So by manually, I mean like going through like a bunch of different websites, running some scripts, this sort of thing. It's not very difficult at all, but it's just kind of a lengthy process. So I think this is a process, because if you combine all of these things together into one nice UI, some dashboard, something like this, potentially this could be some really beautiful and simple user experience, which I genuinely think a lot of people will use, because there's I think it's 60 to 70% or something of the validators on our network are also taking part in restaking. So if there was some dApp, some tool, something like this that people could actually use to streamline this process, I think that could be really, really interesting. So we're excited to see how people approach that one, because it's a very good and real use case that we're seeing a lot of people make use of already.
Great, awesome. Olia, would you like to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Restock, we like to say that our mission is to make Bitcoin work for everyone. So I guess kind of the use case that's close to our hearts is DeFi, and seeing solutions that solve real life problems. That's something we always look out for. Having said that, in kind of the last couple of hackathons in Brussels, for example, we did see a lot of AI on Rootstock and other chains cases, which I thought was really interesting. Not seen much of that before. A few games and DPNs started popping out, and that's super interesting for us also. In terms of like personally myself, I really love to see privacy and kind of like ownership sort of solutions, and we don't have enough of that on Rootstock in the Rootstock ecosystem. So kind of I would like I think to see more dApps in that sort of area, but that's kind of personally, I guess. But generally, I think what also interests us is contributions to the broader ecosystem. So including new tooling, maybe like enhancing existing protocols that are already there, or like some sort of new concepts. That's also great to see. So yeah, a broad range of different applications, I suppose. So there's a lot of space for creativity when it comes to building all stuff.
Super well said. I think I completely agree with you there. Creativity is all you need for these hackathons. And I hope everybody who's listening is taking notes in terms of what you're thinking about building, because there are so many different possibilities. So make sure you start creating a list now, because time will fly by before you know it. Awesome. And last but not least, Victor, would love to learn more about the use cases that you are most excited about as someone who has done previous hackathons and has led and run your own hackathons before.
So I have to say, yes, I'm going to give you some ideas for the use cases, but the way to win my heart is to give me a use case that surprises me, So with that caveat at the beginning, I'm going to go for it. So we have like two big categories that we are interested in seeing projects and use cases around. One is around the usability and the user experience for the final user, right? If you take a look at our wallet, you will see that it's all about making it transparent from the final user. We have a gasless experience for that user. So there is a lot that you can do around kind of bringing projects that already exist on other chains, but are much more complicated to understand and to handle because of the issues that come from hard to use wallets, right? So one is kind of adding the Kinto wallet experience to existing projects. That is a kind of low hanging fruit in the hackathon for a lot of projects that can apply that wallet layer on top of some of these protocols. And the other one goes around our Kinto smart contract API. There is a lot of information that you can read from jurisdiction, sanctions, and other aspects on those. And you can generate applications that couldn't exist anywhere else and do composability between tokens and composability between protocols that couldn't exist before that, thanks to that smart contract API. So yes, I am very excited to see those two. There are two curveballs that I think there are opportunities for a smart builder to go for. One is account abstraction is beautiful. However, every single user operation that goes through the entry point, it's kind of a bit of a bottleneck in terms of visibility. So any tools that allow you to explore what goes through the entry point and what the user operations are doing on the entry point, extensions to existing block scout, explorers, etc. I think there is a good chance to build something really cool on that side. And another one that I'm really also kind of quite excited as well is for extensions to our current smart contract wallets, because of course the beauty of a contract, right, is that every smart wallet is upgradable. So if you have a good idea to expand the Kinto wallet, I would love to see that as well.
Incredible. Thank you, everybody, for sharing all of these ideas. I wish I was able to hack. Unfortunately, that would be definitely a conflict of interest. But if I was a hacker, I would really listen to what you're saying and try to build my project in that direction. Okay, awesome. Now I actually want to get into more specifics in terms of the actual prize tracks that you guys are offering for ETHOnline specifically. So assuming that, Victor, Olia, and Taylor have already set up their prizes on ETH Global or ETHOnline's prize website, you guys should be able to see all of these already on our website, but I want to give them an opportunity to actually go through some of these prize tracks and also talk about the different prizes and how they're breaking them down for this event. So let's start with Olia this time, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Sonia. Absolutely. I did check this morning whether we've listed the prizes just to make sure that I could send everybody to double check it. But yeah, our breakdown is pretty simple and kind of like, I think, reflects on what I was saying earlier. But yeah, let's go through this. So we have the first prize is for DeFi, any DeFi DApp on Rootstock, and that is worth 4,000 USDC. Then we have a bit of an edge case. It's Best Runes or Ordinals project on Rootstock. And we've recently released kind of a toy bridge, a mock bridge project by the DevRel team. You can find it on GitHub, or it should be in the notes also on the website. But basically, if you're interested in playing with runes or ordinals, which kind of has been quite a trendy topic since the start of the year, we also given out 2,000 USDC for that. And then finally, we have best use of Rootstock blockchain, so another 4,000 USDC for, as I was saying, for creativity, anything from deep into real world assets to wherever your imagination takes you. We're actually at a hackathon in Berlin currently, and I was chatting to some builders this morning who are building real world assets to do with it was the football. It was basically football league, clubs, real world assets. It was super confusing, but super interesting. So yeah, things like that come up, wherever your creativity takes you. That's what the last prize is for.
Great. Cool. Wow. There's so much to choose from. I definitely can't keep up with these notes. But alas, Taylor, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we got 3 prizes up for grabs. We got 10,000 USD. The first one being the best use of SSV for restaking. So, and this is awarded to 2 people. So these essentially just for building a restaking application using SSV tooling, which I will be doing a workshop on Friday, actually, to kind of introduce what's going on that. But yeah, hopefully we just see some really cool restaking dApps built. The second is the best use of SSV data. So we, using a subgraph, we have this really, really great complete data set, which is really easy to use and call with APIs. So we just want to see some practical use of this, some dashboards, some pretty much just any great or useful way to actually use this data that's, people who are participating in the network can look at and make use of themselves. And then the third is the best enhancement to SSV's tooling. So a lot of our tooling right now, it does the job, a lot of it, but there's parts of it which could definitely be improved. So we have 2 prizes for this as well, and we have some examples on what you could improve in the tooling if you're interested in this one. But yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Okay. The key word here is restaking. So if you guys are planning on building on SSV, at least from my take, my key takeaway here is build something related to restaking. Awesome. And then last but not least.
Sorry.
Yes,
Can
go ahead.
I forgot to mention one thing about the restaking, actually. Not only can you be eligible for the prizes that you will win from us, Eigenlayer have an Infinity Hackathon going, which essentially means if you build with Eigenlayer on any hackathon, you could also be win money from them as well. So, it's kind of potential to win more than one bounty there, which is obviously nice for the hackers. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing these opportunities as well. So yeah, definitely lots of opportunities to win grant money and also get encouragement and also a lot of mentorship from different teams to continue building out your projects even after our hackathons. Cool. And Victor, what's your prize look like?
Well, we have $10,000 as well that we have divided in the following manner. We have 2 tracks, one for the smart contract APIs, one for the Kinto Wallet SDK. Those 2 tracks have a second and a first place with $1,000 and $1,500. So you have $2,500 on those two. But then, of course, you want to go for the best kind of Kinto app overall, which is our grand prize of $5,000. And to kind of give you a few tips and tricks, right, on what this application should have, it's basically an application that can do both things, right? They have done something interesting on the smart contract side. They are using the wallet SDK connector, and they kind of both feed the narrative of the chain, both in the design language, both on the willingness of the team, that concern for security, and of course, that excitement about account abstraction and the possibilities that come with it. But once more, for me, the real winner is going to be that use case that we didn't expect. That's what we are really looking for, which is why we very intentionally call it best Kinto app overall for those 5K.
Incredible. Okay, so that was a great overview of all the different types of prizes that you can win, of course, with many, many other partners. So just wanted to take a moment here and just reference, if you are looking into building for ETHOnline, make sure that you go to our website, ETHOnline, and look at the prizes section. There are so many different things that you could be building this hackathon, and I want you to actually go and explore. Okay, cool. Now let's go into one question I have that I think a lot of developers ask us all the time, and of course ask you guys all the time as well, which is, how do you actually win? We talked a little bit about building interesting things, like actually building for use cases, but are there any specific recommendations or just key things that you guys are looking for in hacker projects specifically? Like, how do you define a good project, a good project? Let's start with Victor this time, and then we will go backwards.
So I think hackathons are all about people. And if someone tells you otherwise, I think they're going to be lying to you. So for me is make sure from the very beginning that you get the right team that inspires and complements you, right? So I think a lot of hackathons, people don't realize it, but they are won before the hackathon starts by choosing who you participate with. This is a great opportunity to kind of get that multidisciplinary friend. If you are a business major, go get a developer. If you are a designer, go get a developer. If you are a developer, go get a designer, right? But I think the diversity on those teams and making sure that you get the right team and the right mix of talent into that hackathon wins hackathons, right? The other one is the attitude that you put on this. Sometimes some of these APIs and some of these protocols can be really daunting, right? And today we have 3 examples of tech that is not, but I'm sure there are going to be others that is going to look more challenging as you enter into something like that. So what I would say is never let the complexity of the potential task kind of wing you down when you are looking at it. You cannot imagine how many underdogs I have seen, really young students, people that had no idea what they were developing for when they started, learning something, and because they didn't know where the limits were, building something that was absolutely out of the box and winning those big prizes in hackathons. So yeah, I think do not limit yourself, find the right team that will complement you, and that's the best recipe for having a fun hackathon. And I think having a fun hackathon then derives on winning prizes. But I have never been on a hackathon where people got upset, bored, or annoyed about what they were building, and then that translates into prizes. So find the right team. Do not let yourself kind of bring you down with your own limitations. And yeah, have fun, because that's what wins prizes in the end.
So well said. My goodness. All right, Taylor, you're up next. What about you? What are your recommendations for builders for the hackathon, and how do you define a good project as a good project?
So for us, speaking from the kind of DVT side of things, I'd say don't be scared of the tech. From what we've seen, like DVT and this technology, it can be a little bit convoluted at first, like especially if you don't come from this staking background. I'm sure this is similar for like some other projects that are a little bit complicated. But our team, at least, will be on hand, be happy to help you understand any part of this, as I'm sure all the other teams will be. So, if something looks super interesting to you and you can have like some sort of good idea with it, don't be scared that it sounds like it might be a little bit difficult or hard. Just like you're going to be able to get all the help you need from like the mentors and, anyone else in the ETH Global Discord. So, yeah, I just don't be scared. Just send it, And I think, to be honest, like what makes a good project is probably the creativity and solid ideas. Like it's a hackathon, you've got limited time. You're not going to be able to create, the perfect project in the end. But if you have like a very, very solid idea, bringing something new, you're bringing like a lot of value to like, us or to some other projects. That's in my eyes, that's the kind of best way to go about things. Just the idea.
Yes, and before I let Olia wrap up with an amazing quote I'm sure she'll have, I also do want to reiterate that fact. Like hackathons are not meant for you to build the perfect project, and I think it's more and more important just to build something that you're very interested in and let yourself go down a rabbit hole, because you never know where it's going to take you. And Olia, would love for you to wrap it all up.
Yeah, thank you. Agree with all of the above. What I would probably recommend is when thinking of ideas, start with why, and kind of that I think will help to base it on something that could potentially be useful in the real world. And the execution doesn't need to be there to up to scratch, as we just said. It's more sort of like the thinking and the creativity and the idea there. So the usual criteria we'll use is creativity, usability, technical execution. So I guess the standard and kind of I think widely accepted at hackathons worldwide. But I would just like to echo both, actually, Victor and Taylor, saying that it's not just that, it's also effort and the intention. And we can see it, and it does come, across representation, and that's what we value the most. Like people trying to build something, different, maybe ambitious, but kind of effort and intention is what we're definitely looking for, probably more so than the perfect execution of X or Y.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I think one thing that I definitely took away from that was also just like balance. For even being a finalist or when you are applying to become a finalist for the hackathon, something that all the judges are looking for is really just like this idea of balance. Whether it's balance in the sense that, you have a team that kind of complements each other, like Victor mentioned, or you are just like trying to learn and integrate different tech stacks that you actually just learned over that period of time, or whether it's just like trying to put together a storyline. I think like having that balance is super, super important, and that's really going to convey the message that you want the judges to hear. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Now I actually want to open up to the audience if they have any questions for any of our speakers. So if you do have a question, please request to speak, and then we will invite you to speak so that you can ask some questions to our speakers before we wrap up. We'll give a couple seconds if anyone has any questions. In the meantime, I would love to open it up to the floor for Victor, Taylor, and Olia if you guys wanted to say some other comments or just share some other things with the audience who's listening on our Twitter Spaces today as well.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to mention that, of course, we are here to support. So if you unsure about the idea, please do get in touch. But also, even more so, I'd suggest using community to discuss ideas and kind of to maybe build teams, look for other members. So do definitely do not just try to build in isolation. The community is there to support you, and so is our team, and I'm sure all the other teams supporting ETH Global are there for you. So just have that in mind.
Definitely. Never give a Spaniard the opportunity to talk more, because we will. So I would add on top of that, Avolia, right? I wanted to mention, yes, myself, our engineers, Hannah from the business and the operation perspective are going to be both in our Discord, our Quinto Discord, and the ETH Global Discord, making sure that everyone has those. It's a learning experience for us as well. So we are going to be supporting every hacker that decides to build on Quinto. And another thing that I wanted to mention very quickly is that running prior to the hackathon, these first few days, we are helping everyone to set up their developer account in Quinto and the developer environment on Quinto. So feel free to join our Quinto Discord, come to the developer channel, say hello, and we'll make sure that you hit the ground running the day that the hackathon starts by creating that developer account in Quinto. The last thing I wanted to mention that I think is important as well from a hackathon perspective, right? That I mentioned the team and the fun aspect of it. But this is a very long hackathon. So one last tip of advice or bit of advice that I forgot to tell before is try things. There is so much time that you could build literally 3 different projects if you wanted to. So do not be afraid to make mistakes and redo the whole thing if needed in the middle of the hackathon, because this is a long hackathon. So you should definitely take max profit out of the length of this hackathon.
Yeah, I just would add a short thing saying, like, even if you're not coming into like our Discord chat and wanting help for a specific project, even before that, if you're looking for inspiration and you want some ideas, or you kind of want to just talk to the team more about the tech, any of this, like, we'll be happy to have that conversation with you, be able to give you some inspiration, some examples of what you can build, some introductory code, whatever we can do to help. So I mean, I personally think DBT is like super interesting tech. It's like really nice to build with. It's kind of the future of staking on Ethereum. So I would highly recommend, getting your hands dirty with it. And me and the team will be there to help you like any step of the way. So, yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. On behalf of ETH Global, we are always super, we just really appreciate all of the support that all of our partners give to the hackers. And honestly, without all of our partners and all of the time and effort that they put into this hackathon, that none of this would be possible. So definitely wanted to thank Victor, Olia, and Taylor. And before we wrap things up, I do want to give an opportunity for some guests in the audience to give their questions as well. So I noticed that Temi, Tayao, and Justice are currently in the queue. So Justice, why don't you get started?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so concerning the Kino project, mine is around the Kino and the I think the risk-taking aspect. So for the Kino project, we are working on something around like credit reporting, and then doing KYC and like knowing like the customers' identity is very important. I was looking at your partners. I saw Arbitrum, like of the likes of Arbitrum. I don't know if the kingdom is going to be like we deploying our contracts on Arbitrum and communicating with Kino, because our system works on like our version 1 works on a USSD network, which means that it works offline. So we're like, I'm just thinking of like how the Kino works, so then I'll know how to use that. And we would like to also like include a risk-taking functionalities. Like that's the question. How does the Kino system, is it like you and Arbitrum's partnership means that I can still be on Arbitrum and still connect to Kino, or how does it work?
That's an excellent question. First of all, thank you very much for choosing Quinto to build on. 2 things that it's worth mentioning. Yes, we are based on the Arbitrum Nitro stack, right? So basically, everything that you would develop for Arbitrum, you can develop on Quinto. And there are 2 ways that you can take this challenge that you just mentioned. Number 1 is, yes, you deploy your contracts on Arbitrum. However, you want to use cross-chain Quinto in order to get the authorization and reading the flags, right, that are there. So basically, you could have your applications running on Arbitrum and use Quinto as your authorization layer through either multi-chain messaging or directly using the wallet SDK to connect the wallet and make some verifications before you let them operate on Arbitrum. That's one option. Option number 2 is that you deploy your contracts on Quinto, because Quinto is its own L2. We are parallel to Arbitrum One and Arbitrum Nova. We settle on Ethereum mainnet. So you can do both. You can decide, I don't want to reinvent the wheel because I don't need to be on Quinto and I just want to use Quinto cross-chain. Option 1, perfectly doable. Or there is products that I want to build that require for me to deploy on Quinto to get the full advantages that the Quinto SDK and API will give me. What I would recommend you is that join our Discord, come tell me a little bit more about your idea on our developers channel, and I can guide you better on which one of these 2 options will work best. But you can do either or both.
Okay, thank you very much. And then for the risk-taking, so that's something that like I've always been thinking of doing. So then I think I'll be talking more with Taylor after the call. So
Yeah, just hit me up.
Thanks for the question.
I've sent you a follow on Twitter so we can continue from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Justice. And we have one more. Temi Tayo.
Yeah,
Temi
good
Tayo.
evening. Yeah, it's evening here in Nigeria. So, I wanted to ask. I'm kind of like a newbie, so to speak, but I have some experience in like Web 2 technologies, like full stack development. But I'm learning Solidity, and I'm trying to pick up the pace, learning the documentation and everything. But I wanted to ask a simple question, like if I want to code like applying ZKP and like FHE cryptographic techniques, like I would just like to know if it applies to anyone's SDKs or if it's a Taylor, if it's Victor, Olia, or if it's everyone. Like if I can improve on some existing technology that uses ZKP and FHE technology, cryptographic techniques, I would like to know that. So, for instance, I'm thinking of like elevating my skills in like cryptographic algorithms, but I just want to know if I can apply that in these use cases. That's my first question.
I'm gonna take the first plunge with your permission. Definitely yes, right? So if you, for
Yeah.
instance, choose to develop on Quinto, adding capabilities, cryptographic capabilities to the smart contract accounts, or even as additional measures of protection for some of these transactions that could include anywhere from privacy to compression to new features on the Quinto smart wallet. This is a definitely potential project, right? That could happen in there. And I love that you mentioned that you are a beginner. I think Quinto is the perfect space for beginners to get started, and definitely your interest would be covered on that. However, I also have to tell you, this is definitely one of those kind of ambitious projects for a hackathon, but this is a long hackathon, as I mentioned before, and I'm not going to be the one to put you limits on that. So I think this is an interesting project, and we would be very happy to welcome you on the Quinto track.
All right, thank you. I guess is Taylor. Is there like any ZKP FHE application? I don't know. Like,
To be honest, I don't think there's too much to do with SSV in this hackathon. At least you can maybe look into Noir, which is like it's compatible with all chains. So you could, I don't know. I would look into that. It's made by Aztec.
all right, it's fine. It's cool.
I've got a bit of a general advice to you, Tinataya. It's absolutely incredible to hear that you just knew from Web 2 coming, and there are so many of developers similar to you. What I would recommend is buddying up with a team, and so that you can explore new tech together and help each other to learn new things.
All right. That sounds 100%.
Fine. And just to wrap things up from the ETH Global side as well, I wanted to give you some companies to look into who are actually sponsoring prize tracks for ETHOnline. So Mina Protocol is actually a ZK blockchain. So they do focus on ZK, which is something that you're interested in. So I would recommend looking into Mina Protocol. And then actually regarding FHE, we also are working with Phoenix. So FHENIX. They are also offering prizes for ETHOnline. So these two specifically would be related to those interests. So definitely would recommend reaching out to them. Yeah.
All right.
And then
So
and then just
go on board Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Like Phoenix actually organized and facilitated the whole thing. So Phoenix is actually something I can like relate to. Yeah. FHE.
Incredible. Cool. Yeah. And then like Olia mentioned, you could definitely look for some other teams to work together on for ETHOnline. And we actually do have a team formation and brainstorming session happening this week, right before the hackathon begins. So definitely check out our calendar and apply to hack so that you can get involved in all of the different workshops, and we'll try to help you out. So just give us a ping on Discord if you need anything.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Of course. And we have one final question actually in the comments that I saw, which is for all of our partners. From @don't_ask_v. Are there any specific AI agent-based projects that you would love to see? So whether this is a personal answer that you would want to give, or something else, like feel free to jump in on here for any of you three, Victor, Olia, and Taylor. I'll repeat the question one more time. Are there any specific AI agent-based projects you would love to see?
I mean, nothing, to be honest. AI agents didn't even really cross my mind when we were creating our bounties. Maybe something could be done with in terms of like the SSV data one, in terms of sorting and, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. The other two tracks, most likely not. But perhaps there's something you could do with AI and the way the data is sorted to create something with that. That's all I would know of from SSV side, at least.
Cool, thanks.
I can go. Yeah, I can go next. We actually saw a few AI implementations recently, and it's very exciting. We've not put aside a special bounty for that, but definitely it's something that caught our attention. In terms of personally, just a hint there, what I would love to see more, something AI, I think, enable that would help, maybe something to do with tooling or developer experience, something that would make it easier for other devs, so not necessarily like a completely new use case or application on top of Rootstock, but something to kind of facilitate building within the ecosystem. So that's my kind of personal, I think, little wish list, if you want. Thank you.
On my side, I have a few ideas that if the day didn't have 24 hours and it had more, I probably would code myself. One is I would love to have an agent that is able to interpret account extraction operations and be able to tell you more about what happened on those user operations. As I mentioned before, this would be a great extension, with AI or an agent that can interrogate operations and tell you more of what actually happened in these operations in more of a human language. That I think there is an opportunity in there for an AI agent. There is an opportunity for an AI agent that helps you build a balanced portfolio out of the RWA assets that we are offering in Kinto. There is possibility for AI agents to do a little bit of risk scoring of the accounts on Kinto. Is this address safe or is this address a gambler? What lending conditions can I offer to this address versus another? And I think there is a lot to generate models, right, out of user behavior and user portfolios and give risk information to protocols and apps. I think there is a lot to be said on that. So yeah, definitely a lot of potential AI ideas on Kinto.
Incredible. Thank you so much to everybody. I am going to now wrap up our Twitter space if there's no other questions. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to get in touch with Kinto, Rootstock, and SSV directly. So some closing reminders for ETHOnline before we begin and launch. So applications for ETHOnline actually do close on August 23rd, which is in 3 days at 11:59 p.m. EST. We have over $225,000 in prizes to be won. And then the entire duration will be from August 23rd to September 13th. Everything is fully online, so you can join us from anywhere around the world, and our events are always free for builders. So all you have to do is to stake some ETH, and as soon as you submit a project, that ETH will be returned to you. And then finally, like I mentioned at the beginning, summits and workshops are happening throughout the hackathon starting this week. So whether you're a new developer, new to the ecosystem, or you're super intermediate or super experienced, we do welcome every person to come and learn and build with us. So would highly encourage everybody to come and join us for ETHOnline. Personally, I also got started with ETH Global at a hackathon virtually last year, and it was really fun experience, even as someone who is non-technical. So really highly encourage anyone to get involved, whether you are a designer or you come from a business background or you are a highly seasoned developer. There is something for everybody. And finally, I just wanted to say thank you so much to all of our speakers once again, Victor, Olia, and Taylor, for joining us for the past hour. We really appreciate all of your insights and also just for sharing the things that you enjoy the most about working with your teams and also what you're excited to see during this hackathon. So we're super excited to kick off this event with you all. And we hope that everybody here on the call enjoys the rest of your week and that we will see you on Friday for the kickoff and opening ceremony and the Impact Summit. So thank you, everybody. This is the end of our Twitter space, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you so much for having us. I enjoyed the hour. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.